Hello, hello, Regis Kilbin is the name, and Here's the Storm, of course, is the game, and today I'm going to be talking about my ultimate Kharazim build. This is really the top build for Kharazim, not just for me, but for a lot of players out there. It might have one small difference than some people, but I think this is the build that on average is going to offer you the most reliable healing and solo support utility as Kharazim. So this is not all about damage, this is really more about being as supportive of your teammates as possible and truly serving as the healer for your team. So without too much delay, let's go ahead and take a look at the full build here for the ultimate Kharazim. We're going to start with Transcendence, then Protective Shield, Echo of Heaven, Divine Palm, Quicksilver, which is a little interesting for some people, Circle of Life, and finally Storm Shield. So, to go into more detail on each of these talents, starting off with Transcendence. So far for Kharazim, this is really the only talent that has ever been particularly viable 99% of the time. This allows your basic attacks to heal, and a pretty significant portion of Kharazim's healing will come out of this trait. It's very important that you're constantly attacking when it's safe to do so to maximize your free sustain heals over time. It's a little bit hard to do burst healing as Kharazim. He has a couple ways to protect people at a moment's notice, but really your goal is to keep people as topped off as possible at all times thanks to Transcendence. So these other two, although they can offer some cool things, they really don't make you the healer that you need to be. So at level 4, we're going to go with Protective Shield, and as I just mentioned, since Kharazim does have some trouble with burst damage mitigation, Protective Shield is one thing that allows him to do that every 60 seconds. He can keep someone a little bit more alive for just a little bit longer. So one thing to note with Protective Shield is that it does give a shield that's based on, start an ally there, 15% of your ally's health, so it's often better used on tanks. It can provide more overall damage mitigation than if you cast it on somebody like a Malfurion who has a smaller health pool. So if you're trying to maximize your heals, typically your Breath of Heaven will be better used on squishies, while your Protective Shield can be used on a tank to set them up for an engagement or give them a pretty hefty health boost in the late game. On a 5,000 health hero, Protective Shield should be hitting for about 750 health, while at level 20 you'll see that your Breath of Heaven only hits for 548. So depending on how you line that up, you can actually maximize your output pretty significantly with the aid of Protective Shield. At level 7, we're going to go with Echo of Heaven. This means your Breath of Heaven will heal a second time after 2 seconds for 50%. So this is another way you can increase your maximum healing output, and we can see this in action here by attacking a tower and getting attacked. There's our standard heal going off. And after we take a fair bit of damage here, I'll actually stop attacking so we don't heal ourselves. You'll see Breath of Heaven once at 548, and the cooldown there second time at 274, meaning in total you can put out something in the neighborhood of 800 heals. But it does take some practice and some focus to actually get both those heals to hit the target you want. Sometimes they'll move away from you and you'll have to dash nearby using your dash just to make sure that both those heals are actually hitting. But there we go. But it does increase your overall output pretty substantially. 50% is significant enough to make these other talents far less valuable. At level 10 for our heroic, we're going to go with Divine Palm. This is 60-second cooldown that when you cast it on an ally, it protects them from death, and anytime they take fatal damage in the next 3 seconds, they get a huge 2,500 point heal. Now, Divine Palm is very difficult to use, but if you want to play Kharazim as a true support hero, then it does offer you the greatest flexibility and utility in keeping someone alive. Seven-sided strike can be great if you're looking for a more off-healer build, or you're confident enough in your team composition that you don't feel like you need Divine Palm. Seven-sided strike's much easier to use and more reliable and can put out an insane amount of damage, but Divine Palm is really the go-to heroic despite all that, just because it does give you the chance to make huge plays and save an ally who is absolutely dead. So if you want to be a healer Kharazim, stick with Divine Palm. At level 13, this is where my ultimate build for Kharazim actually differs a little bit from what you might see many other players take. I choose Quicksilver instead of Fists of Fury. Now, Fists of Fury is going to buff your E so that it lasts a little longer. That can increase your healing output because this increases your range and attack speed, which means you get more healing activations off of your trait more often. So it increases your base healing output anytime that E is active. But I actually think that's less valuable than the utility that Quicksilver gives you. So when you use Radiant Dash, with Quicksilver as your talent, both you and the ally you move to receive a 30% movement speed buff. So you'll see I'm moving quite a bit faster there. I've got the little wind animation. Mouth's not moving, but there he goes. Yeah. So that is almost equivalent to a mounted movement speed. Mounts move at 40%. So you're moving almost as quickly as a mount. And that is unbelievable when you have an ally who's in trouble and you teleport them, you pop your heal, and you maybe even pop a shield and another shield to keep them alive, all the while attacking something to heal as well. But having that movement speed means that they can make a much safer escape than would otherwise be possible. Sometimes that movement speed will be the difference between them getting out alive and them being dead. So it's great for making escapes, but Quicksilver can also help you offensively. So if you have, for instance, a Sonya who is chasing down the enemy team, there's a couple low heroes trying to make a quick escape, you can actually dash to that Sonya, give her a movement speed boost, which makes it more likely that she secures those kills with you alongside her. So the fact that it not only makes you better defensively as a support character, but also has the potential to make you better offensively, not just for yourself, like Fists of Fury, but for your entire team, I think that means that the flexibility for Quicksilver makes it just a little bit stronger than Fists of Fury. That's at least for my playstyle and how I like to play Kharazim, which is very rapidly teleporting around and being very present and conscious and focused on my positioning and my allies' positioning. If you just like to get up in the front line and bang on the enemy heroes with your auto attacks, then Fists of Fury might work better for you. If you like to dash around and be quick and mobile, I suggest taking Quicksilver. That is my favorite choice at level 13. So at level 16, we go back to the standard picks, and for me that is Circle of Life. This increases Breath of Heaven's healing by 10% for each allied hero in its cast range. So you'll note that if we take some damage, I believe the number was 548 that Breath of Heaven heals for. Oh yeah, 548 there, we saw that. And if we get Malfurion in here, this might actually be hard to pull off. Let's see if we can get him to follow us. If Malfurion is in the cast range here, and we hit Malfurion, we should see this heal for 548 plus 54, but he's healing us too. So 603, yeah, we saw it go off there. So pretty substantial. It's not huge with only one hero, but if you have 2 or 3 people getting healed, 30% better heal, which it would be with 3 people, right? Across 3 people is like almost doubling. Well, it's like a 90% bonus to your heal, right? To 1 heal. So it would be worth approximately almost another 500 health. So you can see how that really does add up. If you have a couple melee heroes, or you're next to your tank, or your team's running away and they're all pretty clumped together, it can make your Breath of Heaven go much, much farther than it otherwise would. And Kharazim does need all the help he can get for kind of burst heals and maximizing those big heals in key moments, and that's exactly what Circle of Life allows you to do. And then finally at level 20 we have one more active talent that allows you to offer up some burst healing for your team. Of course, it's not actually healing, it's shielding, but it functions very much the same way. It's burst damage mitigation. So it is also much like Protective Shield based on your ally's health, but this time it's 20% instead of 15%. and it is for the entire team, which is huge. If you manage to get this off for your entire team, you're setting them up for huge success in team fights. It's typically better to use it a little bit later in a team fight, just so that you're... Let me explain this. So, with your auto attacks, you're healing damage that is taken, right? If you're at full health, you can't heal that damage. So it's a little bit better to take the damage first and then pop your shield so that you can still heal on the inside of your shield. If you pop your shield first and you're at full health, then you won't be healing while the shield is active. So it's not something you should open fights with. It's something that you should use after your teammates have been softened up just a little. Then pop your Storm Shield and you'll maximize its value. So between your auto attacks, your Storm Shield, your Protective Shield, and your Breath of Heaven, and the movement speed buffs from your Radiant Dash, and in an absolutely nightmare scenario we have to keep someone alive, your Divine Palm, Kharazim has all the tools he needs to serve as a full support hero for his team. Kharazim has a great win rate. In Hero League these days, he is absolutely viable as a solo support, and he's in fact really one of the best in the game. You just have to play him confidently and aggressively and make sure you're maximizing your opportunities to heal from your auto attacks, but also timing your shields and your heals correctly to properly utilize these talents like Storm Shield and Protective Shield and your Circle of Life. So it's not easy to play Kharazim well, but man, when you do, he is one of the most rewarding characters in the game. He can do a little bit of damage, he can do a lot of healing, and he can really serve as a kind of a glue that keeps his team together. So that is the ultimate Kharazim build for Regis Kilbin, as well as many other players. I'm going to run through it one more time. Transcendence, Protective Shield, Echo of Heaven, Divine Palm, Quicksilver, Circle of Life, and Storm Shield. I certainly encourage you to try this build out. I think you'll find a lot of success playing Kharazim with this build in Hero League. So I wish you luck out there on the ranked ladder. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, game on.